Nova Scotia are a hellscape.
Outcomes as Canada is experiencing its worst fire season on record.
The area already burned is larger than most countries on the planet.
Disaster created by below average rainfall, high winds, and today temperatures near 74 degrees.
In 2023, Canada saw some of the worst forest fires ever recorded, burning a total area of more than 37 million acres. As of July, more than 150,000 Canadians were forced to evacuate their communities. And the rising smoke had spread across Canada and into the United States, resulting in entire cities blanketed in an apocalyptic smog.
Cityscapes unrecognizable in much of the country.
While the majority of the wildfires are suspected to have been accidentally caused by humans, drought has also played a significant role in the level of intensity seen in this year's fires, according to some officials. Much of Canada experienced a particularly dry spring after low snowfall levels this past winter, and with higher temperatures during the summer, the risks of wildfires have increased. As first responders continue to fight the unprecedented level of raging forest fires, one company is offering a flying force multiplier to assist.
My name is Cameron Chell, and I'm the CEO and president of Draganfly Innovations, which is the world's oldest commercial drone manufacturer. So what Draganfly is doing today in the drone field is preventative and mitigative work. So we've been contracted by a provincial firefighting wildfire authority to be the drone services company that actually flies missions for them in support of their wildfire suppression. So it really involves this initial phase, two things. The first is night missions, where we're flying using a thermal camera and looking for hotspots. So these are either flare-ups, which might be, some wind embers or some things like that have happened. They might be underground fires that you can't really visibly see, where the ground's super hot underneath the root system. Or they might be areas that have been put out, but they need to be checked to see if they have risk of flare-up or to what degree do they need to be tended to. And so this really starts to come down not to just understanding, hey, did we do a good job? But it also starts revolving around mission planning and resourcing planning for your next day or that night or evacuation plans. And so this is stuff that was just never really available before because it's really expensive to put a plane up in the air and to fly thermal cameras. And so this is having a huge tactical and strategic impact on how wildfires are being fought. And then we're doing lifetime spotting as well. So we're able to actually be up in the air, monitoring during the actual suppression activities and, act as an early warning system. We're now starting to carry monitors like wind and particles. And so we're able to start to get, kind of real-time live data about what's happening, which is also informing crews into what's happening. Now, where it's going to go is even more exciting. But this is now becoming part of the standard operating procedure such that, when you start to get this data and you start to rely on it, it's just so critical. A vast majority of the really deadly wildfires are man-made. So, I think the majority of wildfires are still lightning strikes and dry weather and kind of natural causes, even though they're increasing. But the ones that cause the most damage, both life, property-wise, are ones that are generally caused by man because they're more populated areas. So as an example, power lines, starting fires and things like that. So we see industry adopting drones as a preventative measure to ensure that their power line and the inspections that they're doing aren't going to put the forest or people or infrastructure at risk. So it actually goes beyond just the acute or the critical moment where you've got to get out there and do something. It's actually trying to get preventative, which is one of the ways that all these different organizations are trying to work together to combat the climate change effect. It's somewhat easy to calculate the immediate costs of a forest fire. But when you start calculating backwards, the health effects or people with asthma, how many people were hospitalized, the effect on the healthcare system, the et cetera, blah, 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 it's billions and billions and billions of dollars. And so, so it's a big acute problem. People are having to wake up to it to have to address it. In the very near future, you'll see equipment tasking. So you'll see drones flying in chainsaws. You'll see drones flying in relief equipment like water or supplies or shovels or hoses, those types of things. The drones that we in particular can fly, can carry up to 70 pounds quite easily. And you can task them in minutes. Where before, if you're tasking a helicopter to bring in equipment or an ATV to spend 45 minutes or an hour to hopefully have a path, which is extremely risky, to get gas cans up to a station where they've got chainsaws or that type of stuff. It's just game changing. Like literally, it's like, dude, we need that there now. And even if it's not urgent, it's just the ROI on it and getting it there and doing 2 or 3 trips to get the stuff there is literally minutes by air, as opposed to, trails and changing conditions, much less tasking the helicopter. So that's very near term. A little bit longer term, but I would suggest inside of a couple years, you'll see this in operation. You'll see swarms of drones, and these swarms of drones will be doing suppression. So they'll be dropping pellets into an area that would suppress a fire that comes into that area. And then I would suggest that probably within 4 years, you'll see active suppression, where you've got swarms of drones coming in and actually dropping retardant. And now I'm not suggesting that's going to replace water bombers, but it will be a tactical option that firefighters will have, especially in areas that might be extremely dangerous for aircraft, or might be highly congested or tricky weather-wise, or they can't fly the water bombers because of weather. But that doesn't mean that, under 400 feet, you can still be bringing in a swarm of drones, which might be under cloud cover or something like that. So there's some really exciting things. Now, the environmental monitoring that goes along with it, and the real-time data that's coming back, and the changing wind conditions and the microclimates that are happening on the side of a mountain, all of which bear into, predictability of where the fire is going to go, or, safety as to where your crews are at. I think inside of 5 years, there will hardly be a forest fire that will be fought without the use of drones.